welcome everyone this evening. My name is Alina Reveles, and we have got a very exciting panel that we have put together because everyone is now asking, well, what are we going to do with AI? What should we learn? What should I learn? What should my kids learn? And this is quite the topic. It's a very hot topic right now in everybody's minds. We have got experts that I'm going to introduce you to this evening. We have got Dr. Priyanka Dave. You are from Oregon State University in the States, and you are a global leader in that workforce development, in the upskilling and education. You tend to work with adults and AI education. That is something that's part of your work. Welcome. Yeah, I got everything great.
Happy to be here. Thank you.
Thank you. We also have got Dean McEwen. He is your director of AI analytics and also fintech in the Queen's University Smith School of Business. And you tend to work with, you also are a professor, so you tend to work quite closely and you get to see how this landscape is transforming, how academia is adjusting to AI. Um, because the question is, one of the questions I'm going to be asking is, well, is formal education still on the table? Should we still consider this? We also have got Dr. Cindy Gordon, who is an author, an expert, founder, CEO of Sales Choice. You are a globally recognized leader in AI, in digital transformation. We are extremely excited to have you join us. You have got many awards, too many to list, and you are actually an author of 16 books. Very, very impressive. And you have an upcoming book, AI Precipice, focused on balancing rapid AI innovation with safety and risk management. Maybe if you could tell us a bit about that initiative.
Well, I'm happy. First of all, I'm thrilled to be here. Thanks for inviting me, Alina. And yes, I have another book coming out, and it's out now. So, but I'll tell you more as we get underway. It was a love of labor, and it's probably already outdated.
Impressive, impressive. We have Andrew Albuquerque. You are at the Bank of Montreal right now. And you're leading that AI education, I would say, learning, development, education, working with executive, with leaders, upskilling, and you are working with corporate and executives and everyone out there to enhance that cloud AI capability upskilling, which is at the core of this transformation. So welcome. Welcome, everyone. So today's panel is all around, essentially the question everybody is asking is, what about formal education? Do we still need, I myself have got multiple degrees, a bachelor's degree, a master's degree, an MBA degree. Many of you have got multiple degrees as well. Do we still need those degrees? And what is the value of pursuing that formal education? That's one key question for this evening, as well as in the face of AI, where AI can do many things now, we are seeing those entry jobs shrinking. Some statistics and reports have said even 25% of those entry-level jobs are no longer there. And many are coming out with those advanced degrees and those MBAs, those master's degrees, even PhDs, and they're not able to land a job. So everybody is blaming AI. So I would love to hear your ideas and perspectives as to what do you think around, should we still pursue those master's degrees? Is it still worth it?
Uh, I'll just jump in, Alina, because I think you're pausing. Well, first of all, there's no question there is a rethink that's a big rethink underway. I think micro learning is really strategic because the iterative cycles that we need for knowledge has to shift. So there's, I think, a huge accountability in the educational formal institutions to rethink the agility and the speed that they have to get new insights and context out into the marketplace. I think the other reality that is important is to recognize what does good formal education give you? It gives you a lot of, I think, the ability to have good problem solving skills. So it doesn't really matter to me. I mean, I've been using AI. I've got a doctorate in applied AI as well. I've got a company that builds these technologies, and now obviously we're running around with agentic AI. So I've learned firsthand what they can do and what they can't do, right? These are only good for pattern recognition. These are only good for highly routine tasks that have a tremendous amount of consistency. And in risk-oriented solutions, we need still a lot of humans in the loop, especially in the financial services sector. I mean, like let's get real. So what's wonderful now in the future of education is the research enablement, the synthesis that you can get for fast insights. But however, if I just generate a research paper only from, I don't care if it's Anthropic or Perplexity or Gemini or you know, or OpenAI, I don't care. The point is, what am I learning is a real fundamental question. And so the educational institutions have to have the ability to say 99% of what you generated was not from you. So we have to shift how we engage our students into the human side. Like, what are humans really good at? I think is really the ultimate question we should really be thinking through in designing the future of education. And humans are incredibly brilliant in, the ability to tell stories in ways that light up our eyes and our minds and our hearts and spirits. We're made of flesh. Let's not forget, we're talking about a mathematical, computational, set of algorithms that are incredibly capable. But nothing will replace a human hug. Even though we build cobots that are nice and soft and fuzzy, reality is that I still like to sit down with my real mom and have a cup of coffee, or a cup of tea. And so I think the future of education in my mind is saying what is really a human good at and getting clear on that. And let's make sure that we don't lose sight of that while we're going through this transformation. And I think there's deeper thinking that has to happen at all levels. The board directors have to get elevated in knowledge, the C levels, and obviously large institutions are upgrading their skills as they're going through this. But let's also realize that 80% of these investments don't have a return. It's less than 5% currently worldwide. So like there's some real wake up, wake up dynamics. So those are some quick thoughts just to kick us off. But I think humans will have value for quite some time. The slowness in the educational environments is a concern for sure, right? Mhm.
I like how Cindy talked about problem solving because I have been doing some upskilling work recently, and that is something we have seen. And I think we have been seeing, future of work trends from World Economic Forum. Deloitte has been publishing some future of work trend, and some of the things Cindy mentioned are already part of those trends. So like problem solving, critical thinking, judgment, all of those capabilities and skills are really needed in the future. And I think formal education really helps in certain areas, but at the same time, we as an educator need to rethink how we are offering learning and how we are assessing learning. So that is the aspect I think a lot of educators needs to work on. I know a lot of them are catching up, but I think there is still some gap in that specific area. Another thing, I was recently part of a panel where we were talking about AI, and one thing that came out during that conversation is, in the future there will be so many bots, but you cannot be a manager of bots, right? You can be a people manager for people, not for bots. And some of the skills to become a people manager you learn in your graduate or undergraduate program. Sometimes we don't realize some of the skills, some of the learnings we have until we actually start using it. So when we see that transfer of learning, that's when we realize that how valuable that education was for us. So I'm not saying that AI will replace degrees, but I would say uh, AI related capabilities can certainly complement the formal degrees we all have. So I think that's a good combination to have. I'm not saying that either or is the best scenario. I would say the combination of that two is a wonderful, wonderful way of, having a professional life when everyone is doing everything with AI.
For sure. So I'll jump in if Andre, you don't mind.
I had no problem.
I work at university, right? So I'm going to be very pro formal education for sure. But there's a good reason for that, right? I get to see the value of our cohorts and things every single day, right? And so there is this other element because yes, in this world, AI can give you an answer right away, right? So we know that memorization and some of those rote kind of tasks that we've always done are not nearly as important anymore. Some advanced mathematics, they're getting better with that, but not yet. But getting it very close, they can solve some pretty cool equations and things. Um, but yeah, it's the focus on those very human parts, right? The critical thinking, things like empathy, curiosity. These are the sort of characteristics that I think we as university people have to sort of encourage and make sure that our programs are very specific to that. It is definitely an interesting time to be at a university because even I don't know, maybe I'll get fired for saying this, but Queen's University has this policy about thou shalt not use AI. And I was just talking to my daughter. She's at Toronto Metropolitan University, and now they've gone to all their exams are like back to written books, which I did like 30 years ago or whenever it was when I went to school. And so it's there's this huge fear of higher education that this AI stuff is going to destroy everything we've done. And I would certainly argue that there might be some areas within education that need to change, right? They need to get updated. They need to accept the fact that AI is happening. We all know that AI is a scaffold, it's not the building itself. And so this can only make us a lot better and more effective and help us with that curiosity and help us with that critical thinking and the adaptability piece, right? Being agile and how you're working and doing things. And so this is the kind of environment that hopefully higher education and the formal programs are going to start taking. There's going to be a lot more focus on those kinds of attributes. I mean, from a business school, right? So we do case studies all the time. But I'm pretty sure that you could get the answer right through AI because case studies have been around for a very long time. And we tend to use the same ones over and over again. But there's some pretty significant issues there. The other part that I was going to say off the top is that I, for one, have so many what I would call informal certificates from like LinkedIn and from Google and and Anthropic now. I've got a whole bunch of Anthropic stuff. I got so many certificates that I can't even fit them on my LinkedIn profile anymore. But I would never give myself the key to somebody's server room to do AI, even though I've got certificates saying that I can do all this kind of stuff. Because that's another big element around artificial intelligence and implementation is trust, right? And so that's something else that, we have to trust that people have the actual knowledge and credentials to be able to do some of these things. And I still feel that, a formal education, a master's degree or PhD provide you with an extra level of assurance that they actually know what they're doing. So,
Great. I think I'm the ugly duck here because I'm the only one that it looks like it's in the real, not in the university, but more on the corporative side of it. But let me give you my perspective on um, um, this main question that you brought in, Elena, which is, does it formal education really matters? As you say, you're seeing people with masters, PhD, and they're not getting or landing good jobs, right? I have this mindset where I strongly believe that our traditional education system was built for the industrial age war, right? So it was designed for standardization, predictability, routine tasks, right? Like those fixed career paths. And when you bring AI to this equation, it's not only that. It's way more about adaptation. It's about, like everybody said here, critical thinking, continuous learning. Whenever you get a degree, it's not over. It's actually the very beginning of everything. Because when AI is here, like everybody said, AI can spit answers very fast. But can you reason those answers? Can you really go and understand why did it output those answers? Can you identify if the answer is actually factual, correct? Is it a hallucination? So these are things that are really resonate in the market right now. And when we look at what's happening right now, all those professionals, all those uh, um, from new grad to recent PhD uh, uh, um, people, they are all about, but let's learn prompting. Prompting is the new thing. We gotta be like, this is the skill that we all have to learn. I truly don't think prompting is a skill. Thinking is a real skill. When people overlook prompting, right, they over focus there, you will see that honestly prompt engineering is just temporary. Like clear thinking is really permanent, right? When you look at how you prompt, right, like strong prompts comes from domain knowledge, being able to communicate your analytical thinking. A person who deeply understands a problem will almost always outperform someone who simply knows AI tricks. And that is the reality. When you don't know, when you don't have that human skill, which is not taught in a university, let's be honest, right? This is where the differentiator is. And I see this all the time within the bank. I saw this when I was working with a super agile company like Amazon, like Microsoft, like IBM. This is not, it's not about the paper that you have anymore. It's about you being able to really reason your thoughts, articulate your thoughts properly, showcase why, or even disagree with those thoughts that AI output is always providing for you.
Very valid points. We also have a question now um, from the audience. Essentially, in today's workplace, the ability to think critically is becoming much more important, and we now need that expertise because now you're working alongside with AI agents, you're working alongside with AI technology. It's that domain expertise. So the question is, how should you prepare? How should professional students be prepared? And I would like to add to this, how do you build that AI confidence in the workforce? And how do we get over some of those hurdles? Because a lot of hurdles tend to be around that fear of technology. A lot of the hurdles tend to be around, well, maybe I'm not very techy, or maybe I will sit and wait for my company to come and train me.
Such a good question. I can jump in. I would say AI changing the value of knowledge itself. So information is now widely accessible. Now even students are using AI to do their assignment. So if we look at this way, the competitive advantage is shifting from knowing something to be able to interpret, apply, question, and act on the information you have. So I would say what still matters deeply is the ability to think critically, solve very messy problems. We all have those messy problems at work. Communicate effectively, to learn continuously in changing environment. Because, today we have AI. A few years from now, we will have a new technology or new tool that we will need to learn and adapt accordingly. So if we look at this way, the workplace increasingly reward people who can navigate ambiguity, who can collaborate across discipline and apply better judgment while working, especially when AI inputs or outputs are incomplete. Sometimes AI outputs are biased or contextually wrong. So that's when we should be able to apply our human judgment. And for students and professionals, the preparation can no longer be limited to earning a degree or just mastering some content as a part of their earning some degrees. I would say they need experience that build adaptability to practice. So I would say students can do some applied projects, internships, some collaborative work. Professional can focus on some reflection, some experimentation here and there, and solving some real world problems. I also think we need to normalize being continuous learner. I see myself as a continuous learner, and sometimes people are like, hey, you are always doing something. Well, we need to normalize this behavior of being continuous learner. And the most successful professionals will likely be those who can repeatedly upskill or reskilling themselves as technology evolves. Like I say, we have something new every few years, so we have to be adaptable. And in many ways, learning agility is becoming more important than just like memorizing some stuff. So I would say human skills become even more important in our AI-enabled world. And as my fellow panelists said, empathy, ethical reasoning, leadership, communication, and the ability to build trust are very important aspect of human behavior. And those are the areas where human can still create meaning, alignment, and impact beyond what technology alone can do something for us. And I would also say that I like what Dean just mentioned. Like people try to learn something when they have some open access of like LinkedIn Learning or some few like free resources. We are human. We are someone who like to learn, look at things how they are, and try to adapt as much as we can. So I think instead of just waiting for someone to give us some path that we can follow for our own learning journey, I think it would be a good idea for us to create our own learning ecosystem where we prioritize where we want to move, let's say 1 year from now, and take control of our learning journey and find out what can help us the most to reach to that goal that we have for ourselves in 1 year.
Yeah, I'll add a little bit on this. I love how you put this, Priyanka, because the human skills is really bringing everything to the next level. It's honestly all about this, right? The data is there. Again, AI can get you any data you want pretty much in no time. I have these theses, like the biggest challenge that I see these days, right? When you look at problem solving, when you look at the question itself, like learning and practical problem solving, it's number one, I see an over reliance on AI outputs, right? I see people really depending on the output, not using that as an accelerator for your own thoughts. And this is really dangerous because it's like I'm again, like Dean joked before. I'm gonna say something here that might sound a little bit critical, but I see this is like it's like getting an addiction, right? Sometimes you take a medicine because you have a headache. Well, you're taking a medicine to ease the headache, the pain itself, but you're not really fixing the underlying issue why you're having a headache, right? And this is the critical thinking that I think we need to have with AI. Whenever you work with a tool, do not depend on that tool all the time. That's the number one thing. And the second thing is I see AI bringing to the table what I call a massive inequality. It just widens inequality in so many levels, and I'm going to explain why. Think about the two populations that we usually see whenever we look at AI users, right? You have those motivated learners who are becoming, exponentially more capable to produce thoughtful solutions or outputs. And you also have the other side of the spectrum, which is the disengaged learners that just rely on whatever AI output they provide without really understanding the fundamentals. So on the one side of the spectrum, you're creating super learners. In the other side, you're looking at passive consumers, right? So as you can see here, the true difference becomes really the way you discipline yourself to consume that information and how curious you are to even challenge the system to really see if that information is factual, or how you actually get that information and transform that to have your own thoughts, right? It's mind blowing the way I've seen so many candidates, for example, at the Bank of Montreal, where they can say, "This is what I did," and when you ask, "Okay, but how did you do this? Why did you do it this way?" and they just freeze completely, right? It's all about the idea of really bringing that hook of use AI as a buddy. I think that's the right word, like someone that helps you, and also be very targeted. Whenever you're learning, you cannot learn everything about everything. This modality of learning, to me, it's really concerning right now. Like I love analogy, so in 30 seconds, if I can, I'll just provide this. I think about what's happening right now. It's spring, right, in Canada. We're all swapping tires. If I a car shop owner, I will likely need people to unscrew 5 screws, take a tire out, and put another tire back. Does everybody has to go through a full car mechanic course to do this? Very likely not. So pick your fights, go into the areas that you really need to go, and learn the things in a micro way, right? Micro learning is also key to success because AI evolves daily. You have to be learning new things every day. You have to evolve every day.
Yeah, really
Yeah.
good perspectives. Oh, sorry, Dean. Just I'm
Oh,
going to make
good.
a quick point. I think, because I don't know everybody's backgrounds here, but I think a really fundamental point around the future of education, the context of AI, is to recognize AI is a huge discipline. We've mainly been talking about generative AI and LLMs and agents, okay? And we need to understand that there is expertise in other modalities, like in using random forest techniques as an example for predictive engines. Are very, they're different than generative AI, than the large language models. They're not linguistically oriented, right? And also in the image processing domain, where we're seeing huge, huge value, in terms of cancer research, being able to see, thousands and thousands of images and being able to drive precise, diagnostics. So I think one of the things in the future of education that I'd love to see is to ensure that AI, people understand all the different disciplinary aspects at a macro level and to recognize different problems are solved in different modalities because there's a lot of false gods whipping around. And I just want to underscore how important it is on that perspective. So I think formal education on AI is not just necessary at the university levels, it's needed at the high school levels. When we go back to the initial context about the future of education, I think we've all agreed tonight, understanding what makes a human special is very, very important and to kind of get us grounded in our decision making, even around corporate purpose. But there's one other piece of here that is important before I forget, and that is interdisciplinary knowledge is crucial in this time because there are so many facets and multi-dimensions. And these are things that, formal educations, like the importance of scenario planning, for example, looking at a problem from multiple dimensions is really critical. And that's kind of rooted in curiosity, but curiosity can be structured into a learning frame and a learning context. And I think we have to really ensure that our universities are building those kind of perspectives. Interdisciplinary constructs are crucial. And those I think are, and if you think about context engineering, which is kind of moving away, prompt engineering is there. I think we've all been through that. But when you get into being an expert in the area, you learn you can write a prompt that's 20 pages long.
Mhm.
And that's a very important point, right? And Andrew, you talked about that. And since the super users are the ones that are really propelling themselves ahead but that is a skill in itself that universities are well equipped because there's an aptitude level that's required and an intellectual capacity to solve really complex problems, right? So, I mean, formal educations, I think, have to really look at how they're teaching, the curriculum, and also, I would love to see contextual learning, lateral knowledge, really be amplified. Yeah, so th those are some other observations that I have that I thought I'd put out there.
Cool. Yeah, because one of the things that I'm starting to see too is actually like an economic disparity, right? Who has access to which tools, right? Who has access to the full cloud, and those who can pay like $160 a month, right, to access that stuff, like Cloud Code and things, or the people who end up getting like the cheap free version and that sort of thing. And so, what limitations, like, can you use a 20-line prompt for the free Microsoft, whatever it
Oh,
is,
Well,
yeah, Copilot. That's the other thing too, is that what's going to happen here is that we're going to have those people who have, they're going to be able to develop their ability to use and understand this AI a lot better, than the people who don't have access to those extra tools. And so that is going to be, I don't know, a bit of a fear for me about who's going through, but it also feeds back into the formal education piece, right? Because quite honestly, my programs are not cheap. But Anthropic has free learn AI tools and get certification and stuff like that. So you can go through that free stuff, which is awesome. And I certainly encourage everybody to do that as well. But if you're actually looking for a real return on your investment and you're thinking about the time you're spending on those, what kind of a return do you actually get on that as opposed to taking like the formal education piece? But it's very interesting to see, where this is going to go and how this is happening. Um, but there's another side of it too, which I was just thinking is kind of contradictory to what I just said. But because with let's say Anthropic's Claude, for example, right? So it does have a history, and you can have artifacts and things. And so the fear there is that you actually stay on the same path to whatever end goal you're going for, as opposed to that creativity. And that's where the critical thinking piece really comes into play. Because, if you make your hypothesis, right, and you have your assumptions and you're going down that particular road, and maybe that's not the right way to go, but you need that ability to be critical about how you're doing this, where you're going, and where you're ultimately going to end up, before you get there. So, um, there's a lot going on. I gotta admit, it's not an easy challenge we're faced with here.
So the question is going to be, how do you become an AI ready employee? And what is it that you need to prioritize? Where do you start? The problem is there's so much out there. There's formal education. You can do Coursera, LinkedIn Learning, Udemy. We have got actually agentic AI courses as well coming up. There is a lot. There are
mm,
things that you can do for free. You can go on YouTube, a lot of content completely free, but it's difficult to cut through the noise and to understand what's going to be important. And end of the day, how is our economy changing? So a key question is, how do you become this AI ready employee? And I'm a professor as well, and I actually do see my students. Many of them, Andre, you're right. Some of them are the super users, and some are cutting corners with AI. And I also just like what you're seeing. I started shifting things to in-person assessments, to old school essays, oral examinations, because it's gotten so easy to cheat with AI, and we all want to develop those critical thinking skills. So how do you become this AI ready individual and an AI ready employee?
I've got a few points there. I think first of all, each CEO, board director the board director has responsibility to ask how is talent being upgraded and ask the question. They're there to ask the right question. The leadership team need to ensure that there's educational plans around talent transformation and be very crisp and clear, because if they don't get those foundations right, they're not going to, I think, excel. I'm sure larger organizations are definitely getting their act together. I mean, I see it everywhere, right? The issue there is the adoption of utilizing, like we're upgrading, but the variance we may have, right? So we have to understand that there's organizational design implications to get this right. It's not just the education, right? It's also the coaches, the mentors. It's the whole system needs to basically understand. They have I like the analogy of an AI buddy. I don't know who said it here, but I thought that was a right message, because that little pal, you got a little Einstein in your pocket and it go everywhere with you. So there's a whole cultural transformation. We all know now that all the research shows the reason all of these investments are failing is because we aren't dealing with the softer people realities, right? The fear factor that we've talked about this evening, for example, is a big one, right? We've got 76% of North Americans are fearful of AI is going to take their jobs. I've actually just finished a 10-page essay that I'll be posting probably probably early next week that relates to what we're talking about tonight because I got into our topic and I had to do a bunch of research. So UNESCO and OECD have just released new research reports that are worthwhile for everybody here and the viewers to read because it does go into, the important skills. But they had one skill in there that we haven't talked about, which was transformational. That we have, and we can crisp that in the concept of ongoing learning, continual learning. But the real, I guess, skill, I think, is to understand that we have an accountability, not just to learn, but because as you know, adults learn all the time, but they don't apply, right?
Mhm.
And unless we can get the execution competencies out, you can't get to the productivity and you can't get to the return on investment. So I think the word transformational accountability, and that's, I think, where higher future education can really talk about. They can put people into projects that have to actually solve tough problems and, help transform an outcome. And I know that's in the business cases, Dean. I think that's great because it always teaches problem solving skills, but obviously you may want to find different case studies because maybe the answers are out there too easily now, and I get that, right? But yeah, just a few other points there, I think, to take in a little bit.
Yeah, from a I'm going to add to this, Dr. Cindy. From a corporative world perspective, I think there are two main aspects that we have to consider whenever we look at getting ready for what AI is bringing to the table. Again, this is a massive storm, a massive Cat 5 hurricane. It's coming right directly to you, and you have a few options. I mean, you can stay and fight, or you get out, right? So, number one, I think you have to build a domain expertise. I mean, AI is so wide, and this is quite often overlooked when we look at AI education, right? If you don't bring the context, it's going to be generic all the times. And again, look at my perspective. I mean, a finance professional with AI is far more effective than someone with only generic AI knowledge. Same thing replicates for healthcare, engineering, law, HR, you name it, right? There are so many different expertises that will benefit. So pick your fight and just try to stay within that specific vertical. And the second one, I will reiterate this again. Continuous learning will be the most important thing because AI will. This thing is going to grow exponentially, right? We all know. I mean, there is no limits. I cannot predict what's going to happen 6 months from now. It is a true reality, right? So when we look at the old model where you learn once and you work for decades within the same thing, this is going to be again challenged quite often. So the new reality you have again continuous education, adapting constantly. It's a lifelong learning, right? So you have to become again comfortable being uncomfortable. You got to stay current. You got to experiment. You got to showcase that human side. It's not about just prompting. It's not about learning just the art of the possible. It's really picking or not picking, but finding that beacon that really drives your passion and focusing there.
I like how you talked about the, industry perspective. And I would really like to add to it. And I would say organizations should start thinking about how do we prepare employees to work effective alongside AI. So if we look at historically speaking, technology has changed jobs more often than it has completely eliminated work super quick. So what usually become obsolete are specific tasks, especially which is, repetitive, predictable, or the transactional one. And I would say that means organizations should focus less on protecting people from AI and more on helping them evolve with it. So the employees Who will thrive are those who combine their technical effort with, distinctively human capabilities. And we talked about some of those capabilities already: critical thinking, ethical judgment, creativity, collaboration. Andrea just mentioned about adaptability, which is very, very important, I think. I would like to say AI can definitely generate information, but humans still provide context, decision making, relationship building, and accountability. So ultimately, even AI gives output. We as a human are accountable for that output. And I would say from organizational perspective, AI proofing really means building a culture of learning where, organizations should provide employees some opportunity so that they can safely experiment with AI tools. Because even if organization is not openly, allowing employee to use AI, they are going to still use it, right? So instead of just not letting them use AI, they should create a culture where they can experiment with some of the tools and learn how to apply them responsibly in the real world. And, you know, I think leaders should not assume AI literacy means like everybody needs to become technical experts. That's not going to happen. Like how much we learn, not everyone can be a technical expert in every area that are emerging. So what matters is helping people ask better questions, evaluate outputs critically, and use AI as a partner for productivity and innovation rather than just viewing it as a pure threat for our future.
Yeah. Yeah, just to jump in support of that for sure. Like AI, this isn't about competing with AI. It's not about people versus machines. This is about people working with AI to work better, smarter. And the companies, I think, getting back to the corporate piece here, they've got to frame this up better, right? They've got to really show and motivate their employees to say, this is why you want to learn. And they need some of the low-hanging fruit, right? Those projects that are going to be successful, because we have seen a lot of unsuccessful AI projects that have like almost zero return on the investment and stuff like that too. And so what we need to do is start, well, I would say an organization really needs to start thinking about, okay, how do we lead by example here? How do we identify exactly what we're trying to solve? And going forward and showing that, hey, this is an AI solution that worked really well. And this team did great, right? Because now they've implemented it, they're working it, and their day is much easier. And that low-hanging fruit and that successful project will hopefully help with the change management part that Cindy was talking about, right? About getting figuring out, okay, how do you actually transform your organization to become an AI forward or at least AI acceptable one?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You're on mute, Alina.
Yeah, I I agree with these points of view, and the World Economic Forum does say that for 2030, the most critical skills are going to be the analytics thinking, the creativity, the resilience. It's going to be technology. The technology is important, but it's not going to be as important as that resilience and the adaptability and that creativity with which is what we bring as humans. So as closing words for this evening, for today's panel, I'm going to ask each and everyone to provide maybe one sentence. How could you become successful with AI in 2026 and beyond?
I'll go first. When I look at this is a great question,
One
Alina,
sentence.
and for me, can you folks hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just saying. To me, an AI ready employee is not the person again who knows the most prompts, who knows everything about everything. It's the person who can actually combine technology, judgment, adaptability, and human insights to solve real problems. Again, this is the essence, in my very humble personal opinion of what will define a successful AI employee in organizations moving forward. It's being able to adapt, it's being able to really understand that, and not being able to make mistakes. That's very important, because the AI will tend to be the perfect thing, and we always, when things goes wrong, we are always blamed for that. So don't be afraid of experimenting, don't be afraid of learning every day. Be comfortable being uncomfortable. That's my only recommendation.
Well,
Dean,
I
I'll
would.
jump in next because I wrote something down, to be honest with you. So I think, the AI forward employee, the perfect one, is actually someone who's not AI specific. It's not about the technology, right? It's about those people who can think, who can make decisions, and who can lead responsibly. Because that's the other side of it too that we never really got a chance to talk about, is the sort of the ethical and moral responsibilities that we have. Not only represent the companies that we have, but represent society, and most importantly, I would say represent yourself, right? What do you believe in? And how do you build these systems, or how do you guide these systems to be able to do that properly?
my sentence would be, I think first, I think it's the wrong question. I think what's really important is to know who you are and to be confident in your own essence as a human being and have trust in yourself. And that foundation is crucial in order to move with the agility and all the things we've talked about. So I would always say, think about you and your true essence and what you're really good at and passionate about. And if there's a gap there, then lean in to find another friend that can help you on that journey, because it's a journey, right? And so, I think so often, well, first of all, I mean, I know I'm going on for more here, but reality is AI is underpinning everything. And now, we're going to have to worry about cobots, robots, quantum computing. I mean, it's just going to keep going. So if you're not clear on who you are and you can look in the mirror and get excited and have that passion, it's going to be really hard to continue to have the motivation to learn. So I think we have a responsibility for our little ones as parents to build up those curiosity skills. There's so much research there that curiosity is precious. It's so precious. Maybe one of the few things we have left.
Yeah.
I
I
like
love
this.
that.
Stay curious.
That's a short,
Yeah.
that's good.
Yeah, I really like that. And I would like to add to that, and I would say to be ready for AI, trust yourself. When you are learning something, make sure you know that you can do this. And try to become a continuous learner when you can. I know Andre talked about how hard it can be sometimes, but sometimes we just need to learn new things. So focus on being someone who can think critically, adapt quickly, and apply unique human judgment alongside the technology.
Excellent words to close the panel. Thank you. I would like to thank our speakers. Thank you, Priyanka, Dave from Oregon State University. I want to thank Andre from Bank of Montreal for joining us. Dean McCown, thank you from joining us from the Queen's University, Smith School of Business. Thank you so much. And Dr. Cindy Gordon, excellent words, very inspirational. Do stay curious, keep learning, and become the better version of yourself, perhaps an AI-enabled version. So I would like to thank everybody for joining us this evening, and have a good evening.